All right, hello and welcome to episode 3 of Surrender, the first discussion of peasants, the conquest talk show. Yeah, so joining me as always is Mr. Johnny G. How are you this evening?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. And joining us for the first time, we know him as Small One, but he is quite fiery. I didn't have a great intro for you. I'm sorry, Brett.
That's all right. Hello, everyone. Hello.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking lore, specifically on the 100 Kingdoms and the Spires. I think that's a good place to talk about this massive, expansive world we got going for this game, and also primarily, we're all either 100 Kingdoms players or Spire players, right? So
Yes,
it's probably the best place to start, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I guess first thing we'll step into Brett, since you are the first time on the show. What do you play and why?
I play the Spires, and I play them because they are, they're out there. They're a little on the creepy-ish side. They have that, super different approach to all things that the 100 Kingdoms, we can all relate to the 100 Kingdoms because they're humans, they're people. But the Spires are so far removed from them that, they're so different that I was just like, I'm in. And
they're aliens, right?
essentially, yeah, they're aliens, and the interesting thing about them that also influenced my decision was they're elves, essentially. And people who know me know that I absolutely hate elves, always have. And that's a different topic, but it was a very new take on elves for me, so I just said, what the hell, I'll give it a shot, and I love it.
Yeah, and it's funny because actually, we'll catch up on kind of what we've been doing since for the last 2 weeks. So I guess I'll get started. So I didn't get a whole lot of painting done. A little bit more on my Steel Legion, which which is coming along nicely. I'm actually more than halfway done with the unit at this point in time. So I'm coming along. And I got a single man-at-arms done. I have my models ready now. I learned this stuff, so hopefully everyone can kind of see and focus.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, so I'm kind of going, and again, this is part of what we're discussing, kind of the backstories, what we're thinking for our armies. So I'm going with very strong, like, medieval England colors, even though, the box is primarily red and white, but I kind of want to go that extra, almost ostentatious, flashy red. And I also got my Noble on Foot down, and shout out to Danny for selling me his one box that he was going to use for himself.
Awesome.
But and also just shout out to Danny and Amy at the Armory, as well as Dakota, I believe her name is.
Dakota.
They did such an awesome event. It was a great gathering. I met so many great people who are also excited for the game. Also felt very, very safe there with everything going on. I was a little skeptical about going to an event, but I literally saw Amy counting every single person in there every now and then. So really, I can't express. Yep,
how did it go? Like, did you guys get to play a bunch of games, or?
I got Billy to play the game, and Billy is in the background now, which is great because I can say whatever I want about him and he can't fight back. But it was a good time, and it was just I can turn off the stream. I guess that's fair.
Yeah, he can pull the plug, actually.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? He's actually the most powerful and most meaningful person here, right? So,
Yep.
It was a great time. A lot of people bought into the game. A lot of people are very, very excited for it. There's a lot of hype going into it, and I can't say I'm surprised. And we're actually talking about changing the date of the stream simply because the Armory's Conquest Day is going to be on Wednesday, so we need to pick another date that's not Monday or Friday to do this, or Wednesday. So yeah. And I guess the other half of that is I inherited a Spire army as well. So I got 2 starter set halves for that. I think I already have my color scheme picked for them, which I'm actually going to do black and white.
Awesome.
Yeah, so yeah, it's because actually it was a piece of concept art, I think, for the Ferromancer, and I have to say I love the Ferromancer artist. Like, it's one thing when you're picking up when you're picking up someone else's model, you're looking at it, but when you're building it and you're kind of having that weird, intimate moment with, assembling the thing, you're kind of like, oh, shit, this is cool.
Yeah, that model there is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, even though he's, like, literally the lowest of the low, I just, like, when I think, actually, I don't remember if when I was playing Josh, if I slapped around his Ferromancer a little bit.
I know you slapped my Ferromancer around quite a bit.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what I've been up to, is just a lot of stuff. So Brett, you're kind of new to this, so you're not doing catch up. So what is currently on your desk?
Currently on my desk, aside from a very large amount of junk, is my marksman clones, my biomancer, and my what do you call this guy? High clone executioner. Currently, none of them are painted. The few models that I started painting I started batch painting, are currently in a safe box somewhere in this room. But my color scheme, when it comes to painting an army, I've always found and been advised that just picking a single scheme for everyone is the best option. But I really wanted to reflect the societal separation amongst the Spires in my army. So, like, you have my batch-grown drones and brute drones and my abomination. With them, I'm following a simple scheme of, brown and bone. Whereas for my actual clones, my marksman clones, my infiltrator clones, which I don't have yet, my high clone executioner, I'm going with a more higher tier kind of color. Like, the main armor color is always bone, but the accent work, the wrappings, all that will be regular, more martial colors. For my biomancer and ferromancer, I'm sticking with blues and greens because science. And if I can get my hands on the I forget what she's called, the noble there, it's probably gonna be pretty colorful. Purples, all that kind of jazz.
Nice.
All right, Johnny, what have you been up to? I mean, I know what you've been up to, but I should tell everyone else.
I haven't gotten anything really painted in the last couple of weeks. I have assembled pretty much all my Spire stuff, which is the whole. I have pretty much everything from the line that's available now, plus some extra. So I've gotten pretty much everything assembled, and then I started on the Dwegum holiday bundle. You
got Dwegum.
Yeah, so I'll start on that, get those assembled, then I'll get back on the painting wagon again. Maybe I'll actually paint this weekend. We'll see, but
yeah, it's tough because with me, I have very bipolar moods with painting. I either I'm a machine, or I just don't touch anything for like sometimes months at a time, right? And I think of all these ways to do it, and I definitely think hobby is going to be kind of the next conversation we have on this show, just because it's always nice going into a new game because you kind of reevaluate everything you've done, and you try to think of it's a good chance to get kind of a fresh start and really think about how you do stuff.
Exactly.
Right. So
and
yeah.
my paint scheme is I do the studio paint scheme pretty much,
which is kind of the blue.
The blue and the white wrappings and the bone colored armor, or skin pieces or whatever you want to call them. Jake at the Alpha Omega Hobby Store in Quincy says the Spires are gross.
Yeah, they are, dude. I saw someone, I don't remember who they were, but they posted in, I think, the Facebook group, and somebody painted their Ferromancer, but all their robes were literally just skin. And I was like, that's some Bolton stuff right there, man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Right on.
Well, here's the thing, though. What's interesting is you're going with the studio paint scheme, but if you look at the starter box, they actually have, or like the art, they actually have the black and white color scheme.
Yes.
So what do you do? What's the studio scheme?
So just pretty much what they use it in the studio painted models, not so much the actual artwork. You know, the stuff that you see on the website when you're going to buy the models, the painted ones, which is generally blue, like a grayish blue, I would say.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to go into our main topic, which is going to be a lore discussion. So primarily we're going to be focusing on the two factions we actually know about, which is going to be 100 Kingdoms and the Spires. And I know Brett and I, Brett's my wargaming buddy. He's the one, we always pick up all these games and stuff, and we try all these different things, and a lot of good times at the table.
Indeed.
So the primary thing is why I'm such a narrative player is because we always have to go that extra mile. Like, okay, here's our battle, but why? Mm-hmm. Why are we here?
Right.
Why is Joe the farmer now, Men-at-Arms Joe? Kind of thing. So Brett, I don't know if you want to maybe get started into kind of what you had in mind. Do you want to kind of describe what the Spires are and kind of where you're going with that? And if anyone following in chat wants to kind of give a excerpt of their kind of army stories or some characters, that would be great too, because I love talking about this stuff. I'm a narrative game. I think all three of us are narrative gamers at heart. So,
yes.
Like, the stories are what matter, not the wins and losses.
Right.
At least for this group of individuals. So, I'd love to hear it if anyone in chat wants to participate. So, Brett, if you want to go ahead and do your thing first, because you're better at this than me.
So, the Spires, long story short, are alien refugees upon the world of Aya, which is how I pronounce it. I think that's what they were going for. Mm-hmm. Maybe one day they'll tell us. Maybe we'll be old men by then. Who knows? But so the Spires had initially, there were a handful of scholars, scientists, explorers present on Aya for a period of time. But meanwhile, the original Spire civilization was embroiled in some battle against a nameless enemy. And out of the blue, they start, Spire refugees began, or at the time now called exiles. Exiles began arriving on Aya in huge numbers. And these little outposts of observation and cataloging ended up growing into the Spires we have today. The Spires are ruled by an individual called the Sovereign, who is the highest surviving of the highborn lineages of the exiles. And it's as he himself or as they themselves were crossing over to Aya, they, shut down whatever, transportation method they were using, trapping everyone else, back on whatever their homeworld is to face whatever fate they're gonna face, and thereby making him, essentially boss of the whole civilization stuck on Aya. And from there, over time, I'm not sure how much detail you want me to go in, Rob, but
I mean, you can go on a Brett rant. I think if any time there's a time to go on a Brett rant, this is the episode and the time to do it. Like, this is all spotlight on you.
So, the Spires the Spires themselves, the structures in which the exiles live, began to, grow at this point, and their society was very much a society we would imagine today. You had, downtrodden common people, intrigue obsessed rich people, and the one great big mighty rich guy up top. Several nasty events went down in the early parts of Spire history. I got the book right here. I'm trying to.
I know, I have my book ready in case I'm like, well, actually, it's got to be,
So the first conflict the exiles got themselves into were with the dragons. And the dragons were the dragons that actually attacked the Spires themselves. Were mostly younger dragons, smaller dragons, and generally speaking, the Spires gave them the Rainies and Meraxes treatment. Shot them out of the sky, brought them down. Dragons bit off a little more than they could chew. But the Sovereign shot himself in the foot, gathered up this huge army of all these downtrodden, mistreated, underpaid, lower people, and sent them out to attack the dragons directly. And literally that whole army just disappeared. Picked a direction, walked, and left the freaking continent. And, the Sovereign and the rest of Spires were like, well, shit. So they were up shit creek without a bull boat and clean out of friends. And the Sovereign turned to, an extremist group of, radical thinkers and scientists who would later grow into what we know as the Directorate. And the Spires, or the Exiles, had access to a certain ability called life binding. And this was a rather elfy kind of, magic power, whatever you want to call it, but it took time. It wasn't something you could just be like, oh shit, we need more people. Beep, army. He turned to the extremists who were offering him a solution of, we take our life binding, we do this with it, and we can crank out an army in a fraction of the time that it would take to, birth, raise, and train one. And, okay, yippee-ki-yay, yeehaw, Sovereign was all kinds of happy. The religious leader among the exiles, who was known simply as the Voice, spoke out against this perversion of their, goodly life magic shit.
See, I actually didn't know the Spire had a religion.
They did before they were really the Spires. This is essentially, prehistory at this point, I think.
Oh, jeez.
Right? And so, there's this big revolt, and, that first batch of force-grown drones, massacred thousands. And the Voice herself surrendered in person to the Sovereign, and then, played her trump card, dropped the bombshell that, oh, by the way, I've been in contact with the dragon since the beginning of this. Knock, knock, knock. You hear that? That's 3 elder dragons hanging out outside the Spire.
Yeah, actually, Brett, I don't mean to interrupt you, but Jason Stevenson in chat is following along. I guess that group that left is actually an army in the future. They're going to be called the Quiet.
Right. I was actually getting to that. These 2 groups of Spire rebels or exile rebels, I believe. Yeah, the voice was able to take everyone who wanted to leave out of the Spires and into some lovely forest land bequeathed to them by the Elder Dragons, and that's going to be the Quiet, our Wood Elf faction. That's just my conclusion I draw from that. But that did 2 things. Well, one other thing that came out of this conflict was the dragons were, given the gift of life binding, which would bite them in the ass, but that's a different discussion. And so now with only already economically and militarily, the Spires were crippled, and economically now with so many of their lower caste literally just up and leaving again, the Sovereign was screwed. But he also had his solution: the force-grown drones, the biomancers, the ferromancers, the extremists that would become the Directorate down the road. And that's how the Spire civilization we kind of know came about today.
Wow. I'm so glad I brought you in for this episode. I'm going to be like, the 100 Kingdoms are dudes, and they do dude things.
Oh, and we call them duders.
So that was actually incredibly educational, even for me. And this is why I'm glad you're around, right? Is you absorb all these amazing worlds that we play in these war games, whether it's Warhammer or Song or just whatever, man. Like
I want you to know that when I'm at work and I'm trying to do my job, my brain is bouncing all over the place. Like when I'm not sitting in front of something or someone going blah 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 blah, this lore, that lore, I'm an absolute wreck of a human being. My brain is just full of so much stuff.
Yeah, wow. So I guess do you just want to follow up and talk about how you see your army fitting into all this?
Absolutely.
Go for it, man. You're on a roll.
So I'm still working. I'm waiting to really cement the lore behind my Spire down until I can get a little bit more meaty information to chew on. But generally speaking, the emphasis in my Spire is the caste system. They kind of replicate the old system of the exiles, even though their lower castes aren't even, exiles. They're just, vat grown, drones, laborers, and whatnots. Most, the core of their army are their clones, who are they are made from, chunks of DNA from, the Highborn lineages. They are clones of the Highborn. So I replicate the old kind of caste system in how I present the, force-grown, batch-grown, and brute drones, the abominations, and then the, clones having the, being the more focused, where the drones are all a blunt instrument. They're just a really big stick. The clones are your bows and arrows and your swords. They're your more precise skill required kinds of forces. And then you've got, the scientists and whatnot that are kind of like a caste all their own, where they're not above the highborn, they're not below the highborn, but they're above everything else because it's their know-how that makes all of that with the resources provided by the nobles. And then I have the nobles themselves. I don't have any noble models right now, so I haven't fully determined where I'm going with that, but yeah, my batch grown dudes will be, like brown and bone, very commoner colors. My warriors will be, the bone color is gonna stay the constant. It's gonna be the unifying feature between everything. But my warriors will be a more martial color, such as red or something a little more offbeat. And then my scientists will be blue and green. And like the delineation between the separate groups is very obvious. No one is ever allowed to forget, where they are in the ladder. And that's a big emphasis within my Spire, which I'm still kicking names around for it. And I'm trying to reflect all that in my army. Not sure about much beyond that because I still need to, learn about your kingdom and why we're at war and what devious, horrible things my Spire has done to you to make you so angry.
Right. Yeah. So again, that's a lot. I'm glad I pulled you in for the episode because again, you're just a Wikipedia of just whatever you can get your hands on. Yep. So with that in mind, Johnny, do you?
Oh, I think Johnny.
Oh, did Johnny fall off? He did. Rutro, Raggy. So until he comes back, I guess I'll talk about my 100 Kingdoms, and also while you look at this very surreal kind of choppiness going on. So please bear with us as we have technical difficulties. All part of the table troop experience, it's not a real experience until someone's internet goes out. So yeah, I'll talk a bit about the 100 Kingdoms. Obviously, mine's not going to be we got Johnny back. We'll give him a minute. So I'll keep talking about 100 Kingdoms. So you can also chime in when you want as well, because you probably have absorbed way more than me. And honestly, I should probably just let you talk, and I'll just.
Well, I admit I actually haven't dug into the 100 Kingdoms a whole lot, mainly because I'm trying to prevent myself from getting army ADD. Again, I'm trying to start this game off strong.
Right. No, I get you, and it's. We were talking earlier because we saw that art of the city states and all that, and what else? This angelic undead, which I'm not sure they have a name for yet. So
I think they might. I don't remember.
I'm not sure. Chat, if you know. And also, so the piece of art I'm referencing, if people know, it's a picture of the next 4 faction. They got a Wardrune dude. They got the this angelic undead. They got the city state person. But do we know who the person on the far right is? Who's like this fire elemental kind of type dude?
Yeah, I was looking at that, and I still can't figure it out. I mean, a fire elemental, I think, is the best explanation I can come up with.
Yeah, that's the way I'm seeing it. Sorry, I'm just communicating to Billy. Yeah, because do you want to actually? Oh, maybe we're back. Okay. So yeah, I'm playing 100 Kingdoms, and I guess the 100 Kingdoms, I'll explain, it's their human faction, and I think really the point to get across is this is almost kind of the historical army. It reminds me quite a bit of the Empire in old Warhammer Fantasy, where it was gunpowder, steel, and faith, right? That was kind of the Empire's gimmick. So very strong feelings in that army, which I'm fine with. I love the Empire, probably my favorite fantasy army, to be honest. So I feel quite at home with the 100 Kingdoms. Their main 4 factions. Well, I guess I should explain. So, originally they're an empire, where they originally were an empire, and the emperor died, and I don't think there was an appropriate heir for it. I think so. This thing called the Hollow Throne has been empty, and there's a lot of obviously politicking. Intrigue going on within this own faction. So there's definitely conflict going within the faction, and that's a strong theme I'm actually using for my army. It's not even so much the outside stuff. It's not even so much the Spire. It's just my empire is trying to get its poop in the group, right? My kingdom, which I've named the Kingdom of Loxington. Which actually cool name. I named that after my mom's side of the family, which is Lock, and I was like, oh, Loxington sounds like super, like almost like fake British. I actually had to Google it because I was curious if it was a real place, because Loxington sounds like it's a real place.
Yeah, that does sound pretty British.
So my whole thing, the whole gimmick for my army is that the king of my army actually recently passed, and the crown is basically put onto this young child who's not quite ready to rule. So obviously I don't have a model to represent this kind of king, and primarily it's going to be run by the Imperials, that they have a very strong presence. I think the two divisive faction is you're either like you're kind of with the church, or you're kind of trying to rebuild the empire, kind of. And I'm definitely working towards that rebuilding the empire, that cooperation goal.
Yep.
So we're not super ambitious about trying to take that throne. It's just like, guys, like all this awful stuff is happening, but of course, because my kingdom is in such a vulnerable state, I can imagine just everybody wants to target them. And the primary person is going to be, his name's going to be John Locke, who is going to be the king's uncle, who's basically kind of picking up the pieces and trying to protect his nephew through all this, as well as, the Imperials who also...
Now, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Your king, is he a boy king? Like
he is a boy king. Not 13.
Okay.
Which you'd probably be considered a man in medieval times.
True that. But okay, yeah, I just needed that tidbit of information.
Yeah, so there maybe people are trying to take advantage of the weakness and the hole in the plan, kinda, because this person is the rightful ruler. This person should rule. The king himself was very well liked, and he's doing his best, and everybody understands that. But now that all of a sudden it's like it's this child who's ruling and has to make the choices, maybe the neighboring kingdoms who were like, our land isn't big enough, maybe we should walk in. Maybe some spires nearby are like, their armies are unorganized, let's take advantage of that. So it almost kind of feels like, and also not even physically that everyone's coming in at all sides, everyone's coming in at all sides, just in different ways, kind of things. And I am also going to be working on a second kind of noble house to be allied with them. Just because I have so many damn starter sets.
Yep.
So I'm just gonna...
Because I have 2 starter sets? Yeah, so I've got a pretty decent...
plus you got the... a few other things, right?
Yeah, I've got the 2 starter sets. I have an ill-advisable amount of extra brute drones. My marksman clones, and I think that's it.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to fighting 2 units of 6 drones, or brute drones. I'm really not looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with my faction. I got the story, I got the color scheme. I just need the will to do it, and I need to start playing games to start writing a story on how things are going, which is probably not going to be great. So Johnny, welcome back. I'm guessing you took your time to research the lore and all that. So do you have a story? I know you are kind of playing Spires, but you're also playing Dwegelm as well. I don't know if you kind of have an idea for your armies and all that. I don't know if you're muted. I don't know if we can hear you. I'm not even sure if you hear. Sorry about that. But we can keep talking about that. So, are you planning to expand your Spire? Honestly, so like my plan for my Spire is I didn't really want a super big force. Like I got 2 starter sets. I'm thinking about picking up the holiday bundle as my Christmas gift. And then that's kind of it. I'm pretty happy with that. Oh, okay. Oh, there you go.
Research the lore a little more and.
Oh, can you back up to the beginning? We just heard you.
Play a couple games and see how things go.
I don't know if you can hear it. I don't know if you're on a. Can you hear us, Johnny? I have no idea if you can hear us.
Yeah, it might be a bit of a time delay.
I know. But,
Uh-oh.
There we go. Alright, we might have to... unfortunately, we might have to wrap this up ourselves. So, yeah, I'm... But the thing is, I really love the Avatara models.
Yeah, oh, Avatara, yep.
So, what are the Avatara, actually?
I'm not 100% sure. I haven't been able to dig into them yet. I'm assuming that they're a higher tier of clone, where they're cloned from highborn, chunks of skin, spit, piss, whatever, however they do it. But these are, I'm going to assume, your big, nasty, heavy hitters. Like, your Avatara are probably like bodyguards. Like when, a Space Marine captain goes into battle, he's got, Terminator, or Chapter Master has like Terminator bodyguards with him. Essentially like that. They're the big, nasty, super skilled, have the best weapons and armor, making sure their highborn doesn't die. That's my assumption. I don't know if I'm right.
Yeah, honestly, they're probably some of my favorite models in just the entire game period. So, I'm gonna buy a holiday box, and then I'm maybe thinking about a box of them plus the lineage, and then I'm just done with my Spire. I know there are obviously more Spire models coming out. They've given a teaser on the Centaur guys who look sweet. They kind of got you see Terminator 2, where the guy has the liquid body, he turns his hand into a blade. Yeah, it's that but lances.
Nice.
So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, and they're centaurs. So
yeah, I'm definitely going to expand my Spires. I haven't fully. I have to go back and look at everything that's an option, but I'm definitely getting more marksman clones because I like drowning things in flying sharp sticks. But after that, I'm definitely gonna go for the lineage highborn, because that model is just amazing.
Yeah, how are you gonna paint that thing in a tutu? It literally has an actual tutu, I think.
I mean, I'm not sure, honestly. I'm going to want to do, I think, my biomancer first to get a test for, because the biomancer model has a similar degree of the can't tell if it's flesh, can't tell if it's cloth, can't tell if it's armor, can't tell what it is. It has a similar kind of style to it. So I mean, I'm definitely gonna go with more regal colors like purple or blue or oh shit, I don't know.
So,
Something
Jason,
fancy.
sorry, not to interrupt you. Jason Stevenson in chat says the Avatar are remotely controlled flesh bots by highborn who safely sit in their towers. That's cool.
They're literally avatars. That's completely a Spire thing to do. That's glorious. I'm in.
Yeah, and honestly, I think those might be some of my favorite models in the game. So it's like I need a box of 2 of those just because I want
The
to.
Highborn get to play Mortal Kombat from the safety of their little man cave.
That's canon now. They just sit
Except-
outside their towers. They have little joysticks. They have like the fighting game pads, but it's
Yep.
all meaty and fleshy.
Yep, and yep.
It's canon now.
Amazing.
It's canon.
Accepted.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to mention or talk about? Otherwise, we're at the 45-minute mark. We can wrap this up.
I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to see what else comes out for the Spires. I'm really looking forward to see what comes for the 2 breakaway factions from the Exiles before they became Spires. And the Wardrun. I don't know. I'm really excited for everything, even though I have time to do anything right now.
Yeah. For sure. I'm definitely sticking with 100 Kingdoms. I'm waiting to see what the city-states look like. I'm curious to see what these angelic undead look like. But I'm working on my 1250 point list right now, which I'm actually almost done. I think I need to, strangely enough, buy another box of Men-at-Arms because I want another command group for my second unit.
Mhm.
And I think that's pretty much it. And then I might get a seasoned veteran to stick in my Men-at-Arms unit just because I like Bastion. Just so I can make them like an ultra tanky unit.
Yep.
Which is what the Men-at-Arms do really well. So I can just plop them on an objective and just say, come at me. So, yeah, so that'll...
I can drown them in my... I can just drown them in my chunks of flesh.
Yeah, I mean, and then make more flesh. It's recycling.
Reduce, reuse, reanimate.
Pretty much. So yeah, I want to thank everyone to episode 3. Thanks for sticking with us. I feel bad for Johnny because Johnny didn't even have a chance to participate really in the conversation. Thank you, Josh, who was in the chat, and thank you, Jason Stevenson, for participating in the conversation. Obviously, Jason is very big into the lore as well. So yeah. That's and then next episode, I'm thinking we're going to do something a bit more hobby related. Brett, I was curious because this episode seemed to flow so smoothly because of you. Do you want to become a regular on this show going forward?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I guess it would depend on what's going to be talked about because there's just some things I might not have anything to really add to, but. I mean, if at any point I can, contribute to the conversation, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, again, you kind of always absorb that lore aspect, and even when talking about tactics and stuff like that. When we had Chris on, who's he's one of the most vocal players in the entire community. He's just a great person to just bounce ideas off of. I was like, oh, this is what I was thinking for an army list. He's like, yep, that sounds pretty good. So.
Yeah, and I had said how I kind of want to, spam my marksman clones, and I think he said that that's pretty much what tournament players are doing.
Yeah, so, and I mean, they're also a great looking unit. Just 3 armed archers is such a cool idea.
Yeah, I just that reload speed. That's everything. That is everything when it comes to projectile anything.
Right. So yeah, thank you all for participating, coming in, and we'll see you. Table Troop is taking a week off from its scheduled appearances. So, yeah. Have a good night.
Adios, amigos.
All right.